TopMedTalk.
Hello, I'm Joff, Lacey, and welcome to TopMedTalk and our series of broadcasts recorded live here at Anaesthesia 2019, the international conference of the Royal College of Anaesthetists here in the City of London. And I'm delighted to be joined by a TopMedTalk regular, but here in his capacity as a Royal College Council member is Professor Mike Grocott, Consultant of Critical Care and Anaesthesia at Southampton. Mike, welcome once again.
Joff, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Very good.
Good.
Very good.
And thank you for welcoming TopMedTalk back for a second year at the college's flagship conference, Anaesthesia. Now, last year, as I kind of alluded to, was the inaugural conference and was a huge success. Why did the college feel there was a need to develop this conference, to host Anaesthesia?
So we revitalised the whole college education strategy a couple of years ago. And one of the things that was evident was that we didn't really have a flagship meeting that people could see as an event in the year that they could really target and plan to go to. And so we set off on a journey last year. We went to the British Museum, as you'll recall, sold out a month beforehand. We then had the slightly tricky step, because the mid-sized venues in London are quite difficult to find. So we're now here near St Paul's in a lovely venue. And we were again sold out several weeks before the event itself. 420 people, I think, on day 2, which is when we reached peak capacity. And looking forward, we're going to go out of London.
Yeah.
So next year, our president, Ravi Mahajan, announced today we're going to Manchester. We are going to the home of Manchester United.
Yes.
So everything will be in red.
Yes.
But with much greater capacity, and obviously we're advertising it well in advance. So we've got ticket sales pretty much from now, so a year in advance. We're hoping to get a lot more international visitors, and yet more growth. And I think we're really looking in the next 5 years to get to a meeting which is maybe 1,000 delegates with multiple streams for parts of it. That should be what UK Anaesthesia can host.
And why do you think members and fellows of the college felt that they wanted to have an annual conference? What do you think is the driver behind that?
So I get there's an element of community. We all need to get our CPD. We can get it in a variety of ways, but I think it is good to have an event that a lot of people can go to. They can. It's not all about the social, but they can catch up with colleagues. They can catch up with them in a professional capacity. You know what's going on in your department, but they can also catch up socially. And I think it's the college is our national body. I think we should have that sort of meeting, and an
element of pride that we have.
I think we should. If you look internationally, most major societies would have or colleges have a meeting like that, and I think the fact that we have sold out 2 years in a row and we've got ever increasing capacity suggests that was a reasonable judgment. And
I suppose also having a flagship conference allows you to entice some high-profile speakers, lots of excellent content like we had last year, and indeed we have this year. What are you most looking forward to at this year's conference? Looking at the agenda. I've personal bias, so I'm delighted that we could launch the Centre for Perioperative Care this morning. I think, as you rightly say, the great advantage that you get, the economies of scale you get with a bigger delegate number is that you can get more and more international high-quality speakers. So we've got the usual spread of real stars from around the United Kingdom, but we can have a taster of what's going on internationally, particularly this year in the United States, but also in Australasia and elsewhere. And that's important. Anaesthesia it's a global game these days. I think we are lucky in the UK. I think we're probably at the front of the perioperative medicine side of things. But the talk we had this morning from Maxine Cannison on AI, artificial intelligence, for example, I'm not aware of any groups in the UK that are really pushing hard on that. It's good to get in folk with a different perspective and who are pushing the boundaries in different areas. True, because the agenda here really does cater for all interests and subspecialties from, as you mentioned, technology through perioperative medicine, critical care, and anaesthesia, analgesia, etc. So it really does, as I say, cater for all.
Which was the ambition, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned your Centre for Perioperative Care. As you said, it was launched today. Whilst I've got you here, would you mind just giving the listeners a bit more about the Centre for Perioperative Care, what it is and why it's been launched?
So I guess elevator pitch, it's a multidisciplinary, multi-professional, bringing together with a single collaborative aim, which is improving the care of patients in the perioperative period, around the National Centre based at the Royal College of Anaesthetists, but very much a partnership between our college and the College of Surgeons, Physicians, General Practice, Nursing, the Association of Anaesthetists, and as we progress, an increasing group of other stakeholder organisations. At base, it's all about improving the care of the patient, and I think we have not helped ourselves in the past by working in silos, both simplistically in the operating theatre, so not looking before and after surgery, but also between specialties. And I think increasingly there's an appetite for doing that. And one of the things which I mentioned at the launch this morning, which I've been really heartened by, is going to the other colleges and talking to them about this concept, is that they've so warmly embraced it, and there's a lot of enthusiasm to make this work. And so will the centre be the leading force for training, education and implementation of perioperative care in the UK? Absolutely right. Okay. So bringing together, I guess, the roles you typically associate with a college, but with multiple stakeholder colleges involved. There's a whole host of different work, from new guidelines focusing very much on the pathway rather than individual components of the pathway, effective implementation of those guidelines through things like PQIP, resources for patients, all the workforce issues that are coming. We had a lot of chat about that in the first session this morning. Role replacement, role displacement, different professions coming in to take different roles, and the role of technology, and then the research and innovation agenda around all of that. And importantly, I think, from my opinion, it also shows anaesthetists embracing the opportunity to be the major stakeholders in how perioperative care is delivered across the nation. Not the leaders, because as you say, it's a multidisciplinary approach, but we really, are grabbing it with both hands. Which is, I think, is it's very important, and it's absolutely right. But as you say, it doesn't mean that it's a space that we own. There's great work being done by physicians. There's great work, and it always has been, done by surgeons. There are non-physicians, as in non-doctors, doing some really cool work in the preoperative period, in particular around rehabilitation, for example. And at the end of it all, it is all about the patient. It sounds like a cliche, but it's critically important. It is all about the patient, and if we don't all work together, then we're not going to be as effective. And on that note, you mentioned in your talk, specifically why it is the centre for perioperative care and not a faculty. Can you just explain that again? So the centre component was to avoid the faculty description, which essentially, if you look at faculties across multiple colleges, their natural progression is towards forming an independent college, an independent Royal College over time. So a path towards independence. And I don't think that's certainly in the interests of the Royal College of Anaesthetists, and I don't think it's probably in our interests in general. And you can reflect on whether, for example, the path critical care has taken, and I was a passionate advocate of critical care being an independent specialty. As I get a bit older, I'm a bit less sure that was a great decision, and certainly you talk to colleagues in Australia where they're maybe a decade or two further down that route, and they're considerably less sure, because the specialties are now entirely separate. There's minimal overlap, and the communication is, not surprisingly, substantially worse than it used to be. So I think, for me, taking perioperative medicine out of anaesthesia would leave a huge void, and it's important that the Centre for Perioperative Care is based at the Royal College of Anaesthetists, but it's important also that we don't get too possessive about it, because if we're going to do the right thing, we have to do it as a team. Mike, thanks very much for your time. We're going to get ready for the next session now. You can hear more from Anaesthesia 2019 on the TopMedTalk website. That's www.topmedtalk.com. And we look forward to you listening to us again soon. All the best.
TopMedTalk. Nick Majerison here. Thanks for listening to TopMedTalk. Now, before we let you go, it's important that we remind you to subscribe to TopMedTalk. That way you'll never, ever miss another episode. Also, if we could encourage you to join us on social media, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, pretty much every single social media platform, we're there. Join us. And finally, check out TopMedTalk.com. If you go to our website, you can subscribe to email updates. That way we can always tell you where we're going to be, what we're going to be doing, and how you can join us. TopMedTalk.com and click on the section marked email updates. Finally, TopMedTalk is proud to act as the broadcasting arm of EBPOM, Evidence-Based Perioperative Medicine. We'd love you to find out more about them as well. ebpom.org is their website. That's ebpom.org. And if you go to ebpom.org/meetings, you can find out about some of the wonderful meetings that we attend and cover across the year here on TopMedTalk. That's ebpom.org/meetings.